And welcome everyone to an awesome indie spotlight, our first musical episode. We're really excited to talk to our musical guest here today. As always, I'm your host, your co-host, Michael from Wicked Publishing. We got Matt with us as well. Hey, Matt.
How's it going, everybody?
And without further ado, why don't we welcome, as I said, our first musical guest, Laguna Munta, the rock musician, to tell us a little about what he does and to tell us all about his new album, Chuck. How's it going, Laguna Munta?
Hey, it's going great, and thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
You're very welcome.
And yeah, we're here tonight to talk about my new album, Chuck. It's my second album, and it's a concept album. It's kind of a story about loss and kind of coping with that, but it's in a sci-fi skin, and it's also kind of a story of metamorphosis and with kind of, with a hopeful and positive message.
Yeah, I know that's great, man. We're gonna dive into all that, and I do love the concepts in this album. It's so awesome. But maybe before we go into the kind of nitty gritty details, why don't you tell us a little about who you are and how you kind of started in music and what you do with that?
All right. Well, I go by Laguna Munta. That's my musical name, and my real name is Chris Messick. And I've been doing music for a long time, since I was 13. And how I got into music was I grew up in a household where music was constant. My dad was a music creator, writer, and he would record his own stuff. So when I wasn't out with my dad going on hikes or whatever, out in the sagebrush here in New Mexico, he would be in his room with the door closed working on recordings. And so I grew up listening to his original music, and that really had a profound impact on me. And when I was about 12 or 13, I picked up the guitar and I started learning how to play. And of course, my dad always instilled in me originality. Of course, I wanted to learn cover songs and things like that. And I do play some cover songs, but he was always very persistent and insistent that I should be original. So quickly after I learned how to play guitar, I started writing my own original music. And, it kind of, it caught on. I put a band together in high school, and we were a metal band. We played a few gigs there for a few years, and we had some fun with that. And kind of after that fell apart because, teenagers in bands, that's kind of if anybody's ever been in a band, they know the story.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, I was a duo with my good friend, Dean Montavon. And eventually I just became a solo act just because, he was, working on other things. And so I've been a solo act for 3 or 4 years now. I think it's, about 4 years. And this is my second album. And I enjoy creating original music, and I try to keep it original. I play primarily rock and roll, but I don't want to limit myself. I want to do anything and everything that I can conceive of that works. And that's a big part of the reason why I did Chuck, because I wanted to do something drastically different.
And yeah, it is very different from your first album in terms of the tone, this kind of the sound, and a lot of it really.
Yeah, it's a major contrast. Yeah, the first album is a straight rock and roll album. Chuck is informed by rock and roll, like all my music is, but it's at its core, it's got a rock and roll feel, but overall, it's something different than that. And honestly, I don't ever really know how to quite describe what genre it falls under, because it's got a little of everything on it.
It's almost experimental in a way.
It is definitely experimental for me, and I wouldn't say I was breaking any new ground as far as like coming up with new musical genres or anything, but it definitely taps into a lot of different styles that I hadn't previously messed with or experimented with.
That's true. It definitely has a really big sound. Something that I came across for me from the album was it's just it had this scale to it almost that the first album didn't necessarily have.
Yeah, scale is a huge part of it, because I wanted to tell a human story, but I also wanted to tell an epic. I love science fiction. It's my favorite genre for movies, books, whatever. And I wanted it to have that big cosmic sci-fi epic scale, and so that's really where that's the driving force behind it. But as I was creating the album, it did have an emotional core, because the story is something that's very close to me and very real to me, but you guys have listened to the album. There are some elements on it that are more human and more earthbound, I would say. And those are elements that I added kind of later in the process because I realized that to tell a fantastic story, it needs to be kind of grounded in some real human emotion.
Interesting. No, that's pretty smart, man. And I do love the idea of coming out from this love of sci-fi epics, because it definitely comes across in the music, I feel like. And we're going to be listening to a few of the tracks here coming up pretty soon. I wanted to ask you, when you were talking about coming about the originality of your father, kind of growing up with him doing all this music. Two questions. When did you first start writing your own music? And then when did you kind of realize that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, I started writing my own music when I was about 13, pretty quickly. After I could play a power chord on my guitar, I started writing songs. And my dad actually helped me record those. I have those recordings somewhere.
Really?
Wow. They sound terrible. But
that's funny.
And when did I realize this is what I wanted to do? As a kid, I tried everything. I was on the basketball team. I tried skateboarding. There were so many different avenues that I tried to pursue to really try to find myself. As a kid, I kind of felt like I was chasing fads. But as I grew up and matured, I realized that no, I was just finding myself. And I encourage young people to try different things because you never really know what's going to be for you. But out of all the things that I tried, music, I wouldn't say it was the easiest, but it was the smoothest. It just kind of came to me a little bit more naturally. And especially after I started sharing my songs with people, I saw a reaction, and I felt a reaction that was real, as opposed to me just, sucking it up on the basketball court, just being terrible. There was something happening with the music.
Feedback you're getting with it.
So yeah, and it was just good feelings, and people responded to it. So it just kind of, fortunately,
and you kind of knew at that time that that's kind of where you wanted to go with it.
I guess I can't say that there's this big moment where I realized, when the clouds parted and the ray of light shone down on my guitar and I pulled it from the stone. Nothing like that, but I'm a firm believer in energies and knowing where you need to be and kind of being guided and following your instincts and things like that. And I've been constantly reminded and kind of pushed and very fortunate in my music. So I feel like I'm constantly being reminded that it's what I should be doing.
In a sense, you could say it kind of felt more natural to you more than anything else, huh?
Totally. Yeah. It wasn't, like I said, it didn't feel as forced as some of the other stuff I tried to do. There was a learning curve. I'm still learning, which I love. But yeah, I didn't have to force it. It felt natural. There's a flow to it, like Bruce Lee says, be like water.
True. No, that's very, very true. And I think you're right about something. I mean, when you follow your passion and you follow your instincts, you tend to kind of go in the right direction. I feel like.
Yeah, and I have to say I've had such great support over the years from my mother and father and my sister and my girlfriend, whom I've been with for almost 11 years now, and all my friends. And yeah, and honestly, even the people who were kind of like dicks to me, that actually kind of helped. It pushes you.
Really?
Because if there are people around you who are kind of not like but none of my friends, but there's always those kind of, the
naysayers.
Yeah, the jerks and the people who are just down on you because you're trying to do your own thing.
Right. Those
people will always be there.
Yeah,
there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like what you're doing, and it's probably because you're doing something that you love and they aren't.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is it's important to pay attention to that because if you have those kind of people, being a little bit down on you, it probably means you're doing something good. And you're doing something right because you're getting their attention.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I could see that, man. Now with the Chuck album, I think this is a great time to launch into our first single here. Why don't you tell us? Speaking of launch, the title is "Launch Lost." Why don't you tell us a little? As I cue this up, why don't you tell us a little bit about this single here?
Yeah, so this is a combination of two different tracks, and I combined them to release because I wanted people to get a taste of the storytelling elements. Because one thing I try to keep reminding people is that this is a cinematic album. It's meant to feel like a movie. It's meant to have that cinematic vibe. I want you to close your eyes and imagine a movie. So there are tracks on it that aren't really musically driven. They're character driven and they're story driven. So I combined Launch, which is a story driven kind of character piece, with Lost, which is an instrumental piece. I combined them so that people could get a taste of some of the music and a little bit of the story all in one, because I felt like if I just released one or the other, you really wouldn't get a good vibe of what the content of the album was. And it's hard. Honestly, it's hard to encompass Chuck in just a few singles, and I really struggled with which singles to release.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. It's such a unique album and has such a flow to it that it's almost like leaving one piece of it out. It's almost like leaving a piece out of the puzzle.
100.
Kind of speaking about like movies and stuff like that. Could you say, because from the feeling that I was getting from listening to it and even kind of imagining a movie, was I kept seeing the movie Tommy from The Who. And my question is was that an inspiration for you for this? Well, at least designing it in a sense.
Yeah, the answer is no. I've seen Tommy a total of one time, and that was back when I was probably around 13 or 14, and I honestly didn't really get into it.
Understandable. I mean, at that age, and probably because like when I had seen it for the first time, and I've only seen it a handful of times, honestly, maybe 2, 3. I saw it for the first time with a bunch of friends, and in all honesty, a lot of them were tripping out because they were going to watch this movie. So they figured it would be a lot like Pink Floyd's The Wall, more of a visual experience. So they decided, you know what, let's do a little bit of shrooms.
Of course.
So they did it and everything. And I didn't do anything. And I'm sitting there watching them. No. And they're like, this is a great movie. Like, holy crap, this is great. And I'm like, I found it okay. You know, the story was interesting. The songs fit really well with it. Even having Elton John in it, which was like a pleasant twist to it. I was like, okay, that's cool.
I do remember like the Pinball Wizard and stuff like that. But yeah, Tommy was never. It's never been one of those rock operas that's been on my mind. And honestly, I am a huge fan of Pink Floyd and obviously The Wall. I've said it before. I think The Wall is the greatest album ever recorded.
Oh wow!
It's not my favorite album, but I think it's the greatest ever recorded.
Interesting. Oh, it's interesting.
I can understand that. I can understand that sentiment.
But those weren't a direct influence on this. Maybe in concept, you know, because those are like, that's a great concept album. I want it to be as great as The Wall, you know, in your heart, and also
and that's kind of why I alluded to more by design rather than sound and everything, because I know like sound would always be different comparing different bands and everything, because it's kind of a distinctive marker in a sense.
Yeah, so I would say that I wouldn't actively say that any album was you know, part of the design, but in the back of my head, I'm kind of always thinking of like 2112 and The Wall as like, those to me are like the great concept albums. So I can't say that they directly influence anything, but of course, in the back of my head, when you're working on a concept album, you're thinking of concept albums that you respect.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think that's a great segue here for us to start our first single, and then I think after, when it's done, I'd love to kind of get a little more insight into your actual inspirations on the album and your music in general. But let's take a listen here. This is Launch Lost, single from the new album Chuck.
Ignition good. All systems go. Roger that flight, Laguna 1. All systems go. Laguna 1 flight. We have cleared the tower. Roger that, Laguna 1. Godspeed. Laguna 1 flight. She's handling like a dream. Roger that, Laguna 1. Flight, I've got a red light here. Flight, I've lost navigation. Roger that, Laguna 1. We see you are off your trajectory. Attempt override. Laguna 1, attempt override. Laguna 1, do you read? Laguna 1, do you read? Laguna 1. Flight. Flight have lost. Can you fly?
Oh, very nice, man. Very nice. I love that. I love that. That's such a great piece to open with because it really sets the mood and the atmosphere. You start off with the vocal piece, and then you launch into this really kind of almost it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's got this really vista. I mean, it's the only way to describe it. Like it's got this big feel to it again. It kind of reminds
To me,
me
it sounds really surreal, as if you can't believe as to what just happened.
Yeah, definitely.
But to me, it also harkens back to like our fears of the outer space when we first explored them, and like some of the reports you would see, and the theories that a lot of people had about navigation is that if you lost your navigation, it's a one-way trip at that point.
Yeah, and that's I mean yeah, it's supposed to kind of convey that that emptiness and that loneliness. Mm-hmm. And I was mistaken when I last spoke with Jack Irons. The launch is actually not the opening track. It's kind of what jumpstarts the story. There is a track that is I call it the overture. Now it's not your traditional overture where it introduces all the musical themes. This is more of an overture in feel and vibe. But that goes after that. It goes right into launch, which kind of jumpstarts the story. The overture is just kind of to get you, in the mood for the journey you're about to take on. But then, yeah, it kind of just, it grabs you right away. I hope that people are interested, and I hope that opening hooks them, because I think it's. I mean, of course, I came up with it, so I'm into it. But I think it's a great. I think it's a great hook. It's exciting.
Definitely, man. I agree. Yeah, I definitely feel like it grabs you, and it kind of, like I said before, kind of like gives you an idea of where you're going, and kind of makes you wonder, well, what's next? What's adventure have I gotten myself into here? So definitely, I feel like it definitely has a lot to say, even if it's just an instrumental, like no vocals. You pack a lot of surprisingly amount of emotion into that opening bit there.
Thank you, because when you don't have the tools of, you don't have your full toolbox of vocals and everything, you really have to try to use everything you can to make it work. And thank you for saying that, because I'm really happy with the feel of that song and the kind of the drift. It feels like he's the drift and Lost. As soon as I came up with I knew I needed to convey that part of the story. But I didn't know what I was going to call the track. And after I recorded it, I was like, well, it's pretty clearly Lost.
Well, it's also interesting because it kind of gives you a really nice moment of silence before the vocals for some of the rest of the songs that you have kick in. And it kind of gives you, it almost is like a slow burn that lets you kind of build the moment and breathe a little bit and not just jump right into the vocals. You kind of have this, it's a little bit more, I don't know, there's a little more build up to it.
Yeah. And I've done a lot of independent like film work with friends and stuff, and I've learned a lot about pacing. I'm not going to say the pacing on this is perfect, but I definitely try to take my time and let things come across. And I think there's a habit, especially nowadays, for musical creators, because people's attention spans are so short, and there's so many things at your fingertips. You could click to something else. So I think there's this propensity to cut things down and make them short and quick and get to it already. But there's a lot of moments on this album where I felt that instinct, and I tried it. I would cut something out and it would be a little bit faster, and I'd go back and listen to it, and I'd just be like, no, that doesn't sound right. You need those 3 seconds of silence there, because that's what the moment calls for. That's what the feel calls for.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I imagine that's that kind of final process of, figuring out where the edits are going to be and which tracks are going to make the final cut of it. That could be a time consuming process, I imagine.
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out. What was the?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes. Just kind of the editing process and the final track choice. I imagine that kind of is a bit of a longer process than you might imagine.
Oh yeah. True? Oh yeah, definitely. I recorded the album over a long period of time, and so I started recording before I really had a full outline of what I was going to do. So mid-recording, I was like, hey, maybe I should actually come up with like a full outline of this story and kind of lay myself, something. And so I did. And I just recorded all the stuff, and with the constant thought in the back of my head, I will put this together later. So it wasn't until December. So this just a few months back, I had a couple of weeks because we were locked down again here. And I had basically finished everything that I had like all the ideas that I'd come up with for Chuck had been recorded. It was all in the can. And so I said, okay, I've got 2 weeks. I'm going to finish this album in 2 weeks. Basically, I was like, I've had plenty of time to work on it. I've covered my bases, and I've gotten a lot of great people involved, and I feel like the story is good. So I gave myself 2 weeks to edit it and kind of get it together. And I'm really glad I did, because I could have spent another year editing it and I could have ruined it. I'm really happy with what I came up with. And I made some quick changes at the end. One of the singles we'll listen to this evening, Dreaming of Me, I wrote that in the last few weeks when I was finishing the album. That was kind of an afterthought after I was listening to the album, I said, well, it needs something else. There's something missing. And then I wrote that song. And there's also a short little song, kind of an interlude, that I omitted from the album because
really?
Yeah, I felt that it messed with the pacing and it was kind of unnecessary. Though I was happy with the recording and I thought it was, of quality, I just felt like, no, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah. Maybe I think you might release that as a single or a standalone single at some point, maybe.
It doesn't really make sense outside of the context of the album.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And
I could see that.
So, I mean, maybe just as like a bonus thing at some point for people who are interested, but it doesn't really stand on its own.
Deluxe edition, am I hearing possibility?
Chuck Deluxe. But
awesome,
the editing process was grueling. It was one of the harder parts of creating this album. Is piecing it all together.
What do you think is harder than your first album?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really have a lot of editing to do with Plugs Out because I recorded it on a little digital recorder, a Tascam 4-track recorder. So basically a little box. And so I just had to run my line in and record my guitar or whatever, and then my bass and then my vocals. And I didn't really have the computer involved in that album. So I'm using Audacity for this album, which is a freeware. And so that's
a different ball game.
Oh my God, it opened up so many doors, but it also made it made it a lot more tricky. Chuck was a trickier album overall, and I also kind of jumped in with some new stuff that I had never really used before. So it was a learning experience, and the whole thing was kind of tricky. But I'm really glad and really happy with the way it came out. But the editing process, I think I edited it as I went. As I was recording, I would try to kind of clean things up. And if I knew 2 tracks were going to go together, I'd throw them together and see how it sounded. But really, I didn't have the whole album together and listenable, for me, until a few months ago.
Wow. So it really came together right at the end there. A lot of kind of quickly there at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I had everything ready, and it was kind of just time for me to pull the trigger and just
get it done.
Get it done. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, that's great. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the next single here. I think it'd be great to listen to one of the vocal singles, and then maybe after that, start taking a look at the Kickstarter and kind of take a look at some of the tiers that you have on offer and whatnot.
That sounds great.
Definitely pull that up here. So the next one we're going to listen to is called B. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, I won't tell you too much about it.
Right, don't want to give it away. Definitely.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite songs on the album, and a lot of people I've talked to, they say the same. And it was kind of one of the more impactful moments on the album. All I will say about this album is that it represents the beginning and the end.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is a very interesting way of putting that.
Take a step back there for a second. Interesting. And so when you say that, do you mean on a broad sense, kind of life and the afterlife, or is it more of a kind of on a different kind of,
I think I mean it in most every way except for, it's not the beginning or the end of the album.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
It represents a beginning for. Yeah, I don't want to say too much more. I'm going to keep it cryptic for you guys.
Let's just
let's
just get into it, man.
Yeah, let's check it out. You guys have to tell me.
Definitely excited to hear this. Oh wait, here, let me just double check, make sure we got the
Hey, well, real quick, I'm checking the Kickstarter, and we just got a new backer.
Yay! Nice, man. That's awesome.
So
if
we are now
one of you watching the show, thank you. I appreciate it.
We are now 82% funded. So thank you guys.
Hey, that is great to hear.
And remind me, how many days again do you have left?
We have 15 days to go.
Nice, man. Yeah, I think you guys can do it. I'm real excited for you guys. I'm confident that you guys can make that goal here.
As am I. I've got great people in my corner.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love to see the support and everyone coming out to hang out in the chat here, saying
I
hi.
know.
Everyone's saying what's up, and Warboard Gaming says you rock.
I saw that. Thank you.
We got some people rocking the rockets here, so I love to see all the fun stuff here in the chat.
Hey, Jake, what's up? And thanks, Neostar. Thank you.
So many awesome people. Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. So, yes, let's go ahead and get started here. Without further ado, here's the next single off of the album, which is B.
Breathe slowly. It's all right. We're here for you. Seem lonely. Follow the light, it's made for two. No longer will you feel the pain of death. You're stronger. Truth is sealed with this caress. And take your name, bear it on your heart. Wake, you've changed. Be aware it's time to start. Be your own. Fly where you must go. Now not alone. Goodbye to the one you've known. Be simply be, yeah. Be simply be. Shit. Be your own, or be what you know. Be free, or be what they want you to be. Be simply
That's awesome, man. Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of my favorite songs, I think, on the album.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best of the album for sure.
That's a great song, man. And I get what you mean about the beginning and the end. It almost gave me the feeling of, in a sense, almost that it wasn't necessarily about the beginning or the end, but about the journey in a way. That's kind of what I got from Chuck's story is that he should simply be and enjoy his journey into outer space here. I don't know if I'm on the right track there. If kind of what.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Is I don't want to tell anybody.
Right. I mean, that is the beauty of a concept album is you get different interpretations out of it.
I mean, really, you just went into the total artist way of doing it, to where it's not about your interpretation. It's more about what others are seeing from it and the feelings of it. Like, my interpretation is that he's kind of accepted the fact of what's happened to him, you know, the reality of his situation, and that one door of his life has closed for good, but one is just open with possible endless opportunities, or
I love
no
that.
opportunities.
I love that.
It's him accepting that reality of what lies ahead.
And that's a great. See, I love that interpretation, and it's
Nice.
far, and it's way more interesting than me telling you actually you know. And that's a big part of why I think that people are going to enjoy this album. I hope so, because and I said this when I was talking to Cody. I said the same thing. It's like on Empire Strikes Back when Luke is on Dagobah and he's going to walk into the temple. And he looks at Yoda and he says, "What's in there?" And Yoda tells him, "Only what you take with you."
Oof. I mean, just that line alone itself is pretty heavy.
For sure.
And that's the way I think of Chuck. It's I wrote a story, and I know what I'm trying to say in the story, but I didn't create it so rigidly that it's not open for interpretation, and I would never tell anybody that they're wrong. And I hesitate to tell people when they're right. and I just
it's like Inception, right? At the end of it there, it's kind of like it's up for your interpretation in a way.
And I do love that's interesting. You should say that. I mean, not just specifically Inception, but I love movies where the ending is open-ended. And I know a lot of people get frustrated by that.
Well, I mean, that's the point of the cliffhanger. Is like, I mean, a lot of people use the cliffhangers now to kind of lead you into what's going to happen next. But like, open-endedness is always good. Like, that's one of my favorite things about the movie The Thing, is how open-ended that movie ends with, and you're just like, so wait.
It almost gives you an unresolved cliffhanger in a sense.
Exactly. Like, things seem resolved, but you're like, are they?
Yeah, and John Carpenter is incidentally one of my favorite filmmakers. So that adds up. But I don't want people to get confused and think to end Chuck on some sort of cliffhanger. But the whole concept, the whole story of it is open to interpretation.
Interesting.
It's open because and I originally wanted to do some kind of video or movie to go along with Chuck. I thought that would be awesome. But in talking with my friends and kind of thinking it over, I realized that, as soon as I shoot one frame of video, I immediately force everybody's perceptions into my little narrow box. And honestly, I don't think I could film anything as fantastic as what you people can imagine.
That's true. I mean, that is a very valid point. It's why show it when you can let the audience imagine it.
Exactly. And I don't know. I think this kind of medium, this kind of radio play, cinematic audio experience is just not something that I see a lot these days, and I think it's something interesting, and it's an old thing, radio shows used to be super popular, and this is kind of a radio show in my opinion.
True. It definitely has a lot of those elements.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back to like auditory experiences like a cinema, the last thing I can really think of is personally Daft Punk's Interstellar 5555, and because that had a video to go with it throughout the whole thing. But when you listen to it just by itself, you can actually hear it becoming a story as it goes on, and it's like, wow, that's pretty interesting, and a little bit of the interpretation is a little different to some people too.
And that's why I think it's important not to put any, obviously there's the art cover, and that's like kind of the only image that's associated with the album. But I think that's why it's important.
Yeah, I mean,
open.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I just think that's why why it's so important to me to leave it open to interpretation, because that is just so much more interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of a conversation you and I had a while back regarding if you would ever do like a comic book adaptation or anything like that. And I believe you said that you're like, no, I don't think let this album stand on its own.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go, because again, as soon as I have an artist draw one picture, it boxes it in. And I have to say right now, I just checked the page. We are now 86% funded.
Nice. Congratulations, man. You're so close.
Very nice.
It's really exciting.
Thank you, everybody, for contributing. And I thank
13%.
you. Got such great friends, and God, I'm all smiles over here. This project is very personal to me, and it has a lot of my heart and my soul in it. And for people to be receptive and be willing to kind of check it out and take the ride with me, it really means a lot, because I think music for me, it's vital, because I'm just one of these people who kind of represses himself emotionally, and it's just a bad habit that you get into. When you're a kid, you don't want to cry when you're sad because you don't want to be the kid who's crying, that kind of thing. And so music in a lot of ways is a good way for me to get emotions out. And, if you let emotions sit in you, they're going to kill you. And so music for me has become a really important outlet, and not all of it's, me crying over terrible things. Some of it's just me, laughing about the absurdities of life. But Chuck is definitely from my soul, and it's a very important album to me. And so it just means a lot having people check it out and be interested in, because it's me. I'm laying myself flat out on the table for you guys. So it means a lot that people are, digging it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's kind of like in a way an emotional release for you. It sounds like. Yeah,
well, and you were asking me about inspirations for this album, and this is a good segue, because the beginning of me wanting to create a concept album was after I lost my dad in 2015.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
And he was, thank you. He's the guy, I don't know how else to say it. He was my favorite person, and my idol, and I looked up to him in a lot of ways. So losing him, and it was sudden. He had a heart attack, and he was 47. So it kind of came out. It came out of nowhere. So
it's tough, I bet.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, as you'd imagine. But after we lost him, I wanted to record a concept album, and I wanted it to be dedicated to him. I wanted to tell the story of the human spirit, and however I don't know how I was going to conceptualize that. That's what I wanted to do. I imagined this I imagined this spaceship going through the cosmos, and I wanted to revisit different parts of history and the world that he was interested in, because he was a huge fan of history, war history, huge fan of movies and westerns and stuff like that. And these were all things that I wanted to incorporate. I wanted to incorporate into that album, but that album never came to fruition. And Chuck, the character, had kind of been conceived. He had kind of been the band mascot for a while, and so I thought, oh, I'll tell a story about Chuck, and I came up with a story that after a while I kind of realized I was kind of telling that story that I wanted to tell about the journey of the human spirit, and dedicated to my father in a lot of ways. And that's really accidentally or serendipitously what Chuck became.
Wow, that's a really beautiful story. Honestly, I didn't know how personal the Chuck character was to you. It's incredible to hear like your story with that and your connection to your father and with your music. It's a really touching story.
Yeah, it's important. And Chuck, he's what I love about Chuck is that he's a guy in a spacesuit. He could be anybody. And at different points, Chuck represents different things and people and ideas and ideals to me. And Chuck kind of represents the best of what, he's kind of someone I look up to, because I put in the character of Chuck, I tried to put all the best qualities of mankind. I see him as the best he can be. He's not perfect, because nobody can be perfect, but he's pretty close. And so I kind of see him as somebody to look up to and aspire to, but he can be anybody,
Wow.
And you could look like anybody. And I think that's important. I think it really gives him kind of a universal appeal.
Wow, that's really cool, man. I love to hear that. Like, there's so much emotion, and there's just so much going into this album, and I feel like it really carries a lot of weight to it, especially after knowing your whole story and knowing where you started and where you've come from with your music. It's just really exciting to see this next step you're taking here with the second album.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and I'm overjoyed at the response. And I just looked again, and we are now at 87% because of you fantastic people out there. So thank you guys so much.
Man. Keep it going, guys. Speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and start taking a look here at the Kickstarter and to see what the tiers are. I wanted to share the screen with everyone so that they can kind of see what's on offer, and maybe go ahead and take a look and back something yourself. Definitely, all the support really helps, and gets into that finish goal here, the finish line.
And thank you guys all for tuning in and listening to us talk and just sharing your time with us. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for backing the campaign. I'm excited, and I'm just thrilled. I'm so excited to share the album with you guys. There's so much to look forward to, and I really, really can't wait to hear what you guys think about it once you actually get the time to listen to it.
Which is so cool, and yeah, we're gonna get into it here. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff you're offering, I think, as well. So, the goal, let's take a look here. So the goal is set at 1,300, and currently at 1,137. And so I believe you said that was around 87%.
Yep.
So that's really awesome, man. Getting very close. Thank you to all the backers. I'm sure you're very appreciative of all the people who've helped support you get you here.
Oh, I've always had great support, and they really came out in full force. And a lot of people whom I haven't talked to in years, and some people I haven't even really met. It's fantastic. It's great. Cool. The circle is expanding, and that's really what it's all about. It's about me, having new experiences with new people and sharing it. So I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled to see where it is right now.
And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of great, people out there in the indie community. So I feel like there's a great chance to grab on new fans and to get people excited about your music here. The
indie community is great. It's always supportive of each other. I love it.
Me too. Yeah, I really enjoy working in the indie community, not just in comics, but in every aspect that I've come across. Now let's take a look here. So we have. Oh, that's awesome. Let's take a look at this first here. So is this the album cover then?
Yeah, this is the album cover by Pablo Romero, and I love it. I love it.
Pablo's art came out incredible on this piece, as it always does, but this piece is it's really great, man.
I sent him a rough well, we can see it here in a bit. It's actually at the bottom of all this, but I sent him a rough picture that I had made, a really bad one, of course, of what I wanted.
As you do, right?
Yeah, of what I wanted the album cover to look like, and then he just went and knocked it out of the stratosphere.
Yeah, literally. Like, and let's talk. Maybe we could talk before we get into the perks here. Let's talk a few minutes about the album cover, because I do love the iconography on the cover.
Yeah.
As you said, the Chuck character kind of carries over from the first album in some ways here, as you have some, you do kind of use him in that respect, but he really gets his full concept album here. So
yeah,
maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the ideas and thought process behind the image we're seeing here.
Well, so Chuck is inspired a lot by my favorite comic book character, the Silver Surfer.
Okay, interesting.
I
can see that.
Yeah, the imagery of a spaceman driving a car through space, that's heavily inspired by the film Heavy Metal, which was which is just a great movie if you've never seen it. Yeah. A fantastic creativity. And so that car is actually a car that is still around. It was a family car there for a while. It's a 1976 Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Nice.
That car is very important in my life.
Oh, wow.
When I was like 10 years old, we had to go to Minnesota to the Mayo Clinic so my mom could have open heart surgery. She's had several. Wow. And that was the car that got us there and back safely.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And so it's iconic. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to use it for the imagery, because, again, just my family and has been very inspirational to me. And that, like I said, that car is still around. So I had, that's the car Chuck, and come on, Chuck would drive a Cadillac. And, if you're going to take an interstellar journey, you want to be comfortable, right?
Exactly, man. No Tesla over here. Let's go with the real cars, man. Come on.
And
hey! I mean, from the sounds of it, it seems like he was able to get the car up before Tesla did. So, I mean, Elon Musk has some competition here.
And of course, I wanted to show him. And I wanted to show him in space, obviously, because it just to convey the fact that this is a cosmic story, and Chuck's throwing the thumbs up because he's a positive guy and it's supposed to be positive. And if you listen to the album, Chuck has not had an easy existence, and yet he's still there standing with his thumb up. I do like
the idea of this character who's not necessarily have the easiest life or has gone through hardships, but still comes out with a positive outlook. You don't always see that in today's overly saturated dark media.
Yeah, and I think that's another testament to my upbringing. My family, we've always been pretty positive people. My mom, my sister, my dad, we're positive people. We try to see the best, sometimes to a fault. And I think
that's not always bad, though. I feel like sometimes it's okay to be like that. Just shows your heart's in the right place.
Well, and I tell you what, it makes life a whole lot easier if you just try to be a little bit happier and try to see the funny side. When you drop the dinner you just cooked, instead of crying, maybe you should just laugh at the absurdity. I don't know.
Sometimes you just gotta laugh, man. At your own self, really.
And and Chuck's guitar is very important because it's a guitar that I bought years ago, and I've given it to Chuck in recent years. It's his now, but on the fretboard is the waxing crescent moon, and the first gig we ever played is Laguna Munta. I put a picture of the guitar up, and I put Laguna. I used the picture of the guitar, and I put Laguna above the crescent moon and Munta below it. So this guitar was pivotal in the aesthetic of my Laguna Munta emblem and the crescent moon, and how it became part of the whole Laguna Munta vibe. And that's why Chuck has the guitar, because it kind of completes the whole deal.
In a way, having the moon in your earlier stuff is kind of alluding to the journey that Chuck's going to take.
Yeah, well, if I'm being honest, Chuck is a prequel to Plugs Out in a lot of ways.
Oh my goodness. We're getting some secrets here.
In a lot of ways. And you don't have to have heard Plugs Out to like understand Chuck, but if you haven't listened to Plugs Out, there are some Easter eggs you're gonna miss.
Okay, interesting. So people when you get the full picture or the full story, they may want to pick up the complete package.
If they're like Easter egg hunters, you know, because like I said, you don't need to listen to it to get it all, but you'll get a little bit more out of it.
Very nice, very nice.
It's like listening to it with the director's commentary.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, let's go take a look here at the perks. I want to kind of take a look and see what you have on offer. Of course, there's you can just offer your support if you don't want any rewards. You just want to offer your support. There's always that option here. But then we get into the meat of everything here, which is the meat and potatoes. We got our first pledge here, which is a Stargazer pledge, and it looks like this one is includes a thank you with extreme gratitude. Can you tell us a little more about this thank you that with extreme gratitude that you're offering?
That one, I didn't realize that when I set up the page that there was already like a donate reward. So I was like, oh, you know, if you want to throw me $5,
here's the thing: if you donate the first one, you don't get your gratitude. Like you maybe get a little gratitude, but you don't get extreme gratitude. So there's a difference there. I feel like that's important.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Okay, well, let's go to the next one then. Let's see here. So the real first tier here is the Space Cadet. This one's at $10. And what can you tell us about this first tier here?
That's the real kind of basic one. If you're not a CD person, if you just want to get the digital tracks, $10 for all 15 tracks.
Nice, man. MP3, just download around to whatever device you want.
Exactly. Yep. Just straight up digital, which is, you know, I'm pursuing the CD and it's great. Honestly, as of yet, nobody's back to digital because I think a lot of people are on board with me in wanting to see and get Chuck in a CD form.
Yeah, no, there's something really fun about receiving something physical and just, you know, it's almost like, you know, I always used to love collecting the album art. So I do feel like there's
with music, it's a lot more different because having that physical form, it's like it's kind of like the difference between owning music and streaming music. You know, digital kind of still feels like you're streaming it, where digital is you're part of that experience in a sense. You're experiencing that in some way.
Oh yeah, and I mean yes, 100%. And but kind of back to the thing about, you know, Chuck being an audio experience like every other album. The only, you know, you could download a movie digitally and watch it. I mean, it's, for me, that's not the same thing, but you've got all the images there, you know, you're seeing the movie. But if it's music, when you're listening to an album, especially me back in the day, I would sit there with the album artwork in my hand and look at it because that's all you have to look at. That's the only imagery of the album. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important because you can sit there with the artwork in your hand and listen to the album and kind of absorb it.
Yeah, that's really true. And it's funny that even in this day where you can get almost any kind of media you want in digital, people still want the physical copies.
Yeah, really because kind of, there's a magic to it. I mean, I work at a video store. You know, if you believe that, I tell people that. I tell people that, and they're like, "What year do you live in, man?" But the thing is I talk to a lot of the customers about that, and it's just such a different experience. The tangibility. I want to own the book. I want to have the book in my hand. I want to own my movies. So when I want to watch it, I can grab it off the shelf and throw it on. I don't have to worry about paying my internet bill or some kind of streaming rights thing to, you know, oh, my movie's not on Netflix anymore, so I can't watch it. That kind of thing. Yeah, when you own your content, you can enjoy it at any time. And there's something beyond that. There's just something more special about it. And that's why I'm really emphasizing the CD aspect of Chuck because it's a tangible experience. It deserves a tangible medium.
No, definitely. Mm-hmm. I remember I still to this day miss being able to rent games and miss being able to rent movies because it was just being able to actually sit there and choose which one you're more interested in, and because like being bombarded by all these other ones and like being able to just digitally download these things right onto the PS4, right onto your PC, you know.
Yeah, I think
But having that, like you were saying, it's tangible. It's more about the experience and being able to sit there and look at it while you're listening. Or
yeah, and the accessibility makes it less special. Back in the day, if somebody had the movie rented out that you wanted, you had to wait maybe a week until you got to see that movie, and it made it that much more special. Now, you sit there on your streaming device for 3 hours not watching anything, trying to pick something because there's so much, it doesn't even matter.
I've heard someone put it as the tyranny of choices or something like that.
Yeah, and I think kind of a scarcity or something kind of along those lines makes things more special.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's a limited thing. It's a special event in a way.
You appreciate it more that way.
You do. And I feel like with this kind of thing, you get
like I still have fond memories of being able to rent like one of my favorite game series back when I was a kid, Mega Man. You know, go to the game store, rent it. You know, I have 7 days to beat it.
Yeah,
let's do it. Final Fantasy games, I do the same thing. And if I really love the game, I would eventually buy it. And it was the same thing with movies. Music was the only thing where I'd go to the record store and I'd listen to it for a bit, and then I'd actually buy it right there on the spot. But I think I was around when like Napster and all that shit came around, so it was a little bit more accessible for me to do that at the time. Now I just kind of stream my music because it's easier for me to do on the go.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of people's perspective on it and how they function with it. It's just easier to do. It's convenient, and I get that. But I think it still just loses its magic that way because it's just kind of easy to get to. It's there. There's so many options, you know. But I'm being redundant at this point.
No, it's really interesting. Before we move on to the next perk here, I actually wanted to ask you a question I'd forgotten to ask you earlier. It's a kind of a minor detail on the album cover here, but so maybe if there's no significance here, that's totally cool. But I something that really stuck out to me was the yellow of his gloves and the yellow of the Chuck album lettering. I don't know what it is about it. Just really, I really like it, but also just really draws my eye and it really stands out for some reason to me. Is there any intention behind that?
Well, the rough I sent to Pablo, the gloves were white, so they blended in with Chuck to the point where he couldn't even tell he was throwing the thumbs up. I actually noticed. I noticed, and I said, "Oh, hey, Chuck's throwing a thumbs up," and he said, "Oh." And so he decided to do the gloves yellow, and I liked it, and so, and I can't remember how I just obviously that's why I made the Chuck lettering yellow because the gloves were yellow. But I remember a few discussions me and my girlfriend had about that because she's more of an artist than I am. She draws and stuff like that, so she has more of an eye for this kind of thing. So I got a little bit of her advice. There was a time where I was gonna do it white. There was a time where I was gonna do it purple. But the first instinct was to go yellow to match the gloves. And so that just kind of happened. That was the artist doing his thing to make the picture work. And then I just kind of worked off of that.
Wow. That's really interesting. I think it came out great. It really does stand out. And really, you can, like you said, you can see the thumbs up a lot more clearly now that I think about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the gold pops, it's got that space feel because, you know, it works. It was just the artist doing his thing, and then it just worked out. When you trust your artist, great things can happen.
Oh yes, I'm 100% with you on that one. Always trust the artist that you're working with. They know what they're doing. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, how did you first start working with Pablo?
Well, I just because of Jack Irons, Cody, I'm on Twitter. I wouldn't be on Twitter if it wasn't for him. So I have him to thank. I have him to thank for that. And then I just would see his posts and I liked his artwork. And then the more I dug into it, I saw this kind of 80s airbrush style that he did. And I like that look. I like that old school 80s album cover look. And so I had never commissioned art before. And the album artwork I had for Chuck was dreadful. And so I just reached out, you know, and I talked to him and I told him I told him I wanted it done in that cool 80s airbrush style of his. And yeah, and he came up with this awesome piece.
You took it from there.
Yeah, I sent him like a rough version of what I wanted, and he just made it great.
Are you gonna? Do you think you'd ever work with him again on a future album cover?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And the one of the perks, one of the pledges is the astronaut pledge. It comes with an 11x17 poster of never before seen Pablo Romero Chuck art.
That's so cool. So no one's seen it yet. Even it's still under wraps.
Just people, people in my hometown type thing.
Inner circle, yeah.
Yeah, like be there at work and be like, hey, you want to see something cool?
You like pull it out. Check this out, man.
Exactly.
No, that's cool, man. That'll be exciting. Yeah, that'll. I'm sure that'll look really. Whatever the final art is, I'm sure it'll look really, really good in physical print medium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, so the next tier here is called Flight Crew. This one's $15 or more, and what comes in the Flight Crew pack?
That's straight up. That's the CD, and it says it right there. Get this project off the ground with the CD, complete with the fantastic Chuck artwork. So that's just straight up bare bones. You get the CD, boom.
Oh, so you do get the Chuck artwork as well here?
Well, it's got the CD cover.
Okay, so that comes with the kind of like the CD cover in the insert.
Well, it's just, I guess I'm just trying to express that they get to see the awesome CD cover, because
I mean, like it comes like it's like the in the case or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but
well,
it's
this CD design that I've going for, as far as like the price point that I've figured out for my budget is just this. It's the cardboard sleeve.
Okay, so kind of a more of a minimalistic instead of going for the full blown booklet kind of style. You might see.
Totally. Yeah, so this is real simple, front and back cover, CD slips in and out.
On the music itself,
totally. And I tried to, and I wanted the price point to be reasonable to where I didn't have to budget my Kickstarter.
No, that's fair, right? And increase the price just for adding in something that really isn't part of the music when you really come down to it.
Yeah, I wanted
to be honest, I don't think anybody would really blame you for that too.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense when you explain it like that. So this is the Chuck CD, and so the one with the artwork that is going to be on a lower tier than here, with the actual physical printed piece here.
Yeah, and this one just combines if you wanted to get the digital and the CD just for a couple bucks more.
Nice, yeah. That way you could have a digital version to take with you, maybe on your phone or wherever you need, want to have that.
Totally, and you get the CD as well. And this was just to kind of help bolster the campaign, just a few bucks here if it was needed,
If or needed one, it would, if you like to have both, definitely get that, man.
Totally.
I actually like it when campaigns offer both a digital and a physical. I feel like that's a good way to do that. Now this one looks like we've got one of kind of our more premium tiers here. This one is called the Pilot, and you get a signed CD. Very nice. That's cool, man. You don't get a lot of signed stuff these days. I feel like not as many people are doing the signed stuff. Yeah,
I didn't realize that. I just thought it'd be a fun option for people if they really wanted that. That would be. It's cool for me too, because obviously you feel cool signing a CD. You feel like a rock star at that point. Like people care enough to have my signature on it,
Hey, who doesn't like to sign their own work,
Yeah, and so that was just a fun idea, and also you get the digital album of Chuck, and you also get the CD, but you also get Plugs Out, my debut album, in digital form.
Which I actually think is really cool. I love. When we first started listening to music, of course, we started listening to Plugs Out, and I really love the style that you pulled off of that first album. It's really kind of authentic, almost. The Plugs Out name almost, to me, feels like it's back to basics in a sense. It's like a really fundamentally strong album.
Well, thank you. I tried. Yeah, obviously that one was a lot of work, and it was a labor. I can't say a labor of love because it got pretty grueling. But Plugs Out is actually a term that they use in for aircraft and also for spacecraft.
Oh, interesting.
A Plugs Out test. It's a test, really, and that's kind of what the first album was. It was a test to see if I could record an album and also see how people would react. So what it Plugs Out is, before they'll send a ship up, a vessel into space, they will literally unplug it from all the systems on the ground and see if it can run on its own.
Like when you say run on its own, how do you mean exactly?
Like run on its own power. It can function without being hooked up to the power on the ground.
Test.
Yeah, so it's yeah. So the first album was the plugs out test.
Nice, man. It's like kind of going to the further Chuck lore. This is him doing his plugs out test, getting ready for his journey here in the next album in a way.
I try to stick to the theme, but I also try not to let the theme get in the way, because
true.
Not all the songs on plugs out, I mean, well, not all of them are sci-fi space adventures, but that's definitely the motif of Laguna Munta is that kind of it's supposed to be this kind of freedom that that exploration gives you. That's kind of the vibe of Laguna Munta, and that's why I go with it. I'm sorry.
So is that kind of like the concept behind the name Laguna Munta?
Well, the name, it just kind of came to me. I was we had filmed a video and we needed a name of a fake band. And I was driving down the street and I was doing a radio announcer's voice and I said, "Well, this is the title track of the new one by Laguna Munta." And I was like, "Well, that sounds like a band name." And and we had a gig scheduled, Dean and I, and we didn't have a band name. And we were going to call ourselves GM and G, Guys, Mics, and Guitars. And I was like, what if we just call ourselves Laguna Munta? And so it just kind of was one of those things that just came out of the ether, and then I stuck with it.
No, that's really cool. It's interesting how those kind of things where you think of something as almost like a one-off or a throwaway, and then you come back to it, and you really say, wait a second, this is something I had something here. Yeah,
totally.
Me and Matt kind of did that with our comic, and so we definitely kind of get where you're coming with that idea there.
Honestly, it's kind of on how even the name Wicked came along, because I always had the name Wicked wanting to be used, but I never had a proper way of using it. And me and Michael were just doing a few things, and then finally we went, "How about Wicked Publishing?" I was like,
"Yeah,
meant to be."
I mean, let's do it. Yeah, that sounds really good. It flies off really well.
Now we're getting. It looks like there's a few tiers left here. This was the Explorer trend. I think this may be. Well, let's see. Why don't you go into it and tell us what this one's all about?
So this one is. It has everything that the previous tier had, plus a little bit more. So you get the Chuck digital album, you get the CD, you get the Plugs Out digital album, but then you get all the digital singles I've released to date, including my 3 Jack Iron singles, as well as Stroke of Midnight and 6 String Man. So you get 5 additional singles along with 2 albums with this one.
I love that, and that's a great pack too, because you get those extra singles. And I always enjoy a good single, like especially a good single off of not even off of an album. There's something interesting about just a standalone song that just really, really fun.
Yeah, and those kind of a lot of the singles come about because I was just working on some stuff, and Chuck wasn't ready, and so I was like, well, this is a cool song, and it kind of stands on his own. So let's give the people something to listen to. Maybe they'll be into it.
Nice, and of course, you got the Cody Jack Irons pieces in there. And those are very nice. I think those came out great. Like, it's kind of interesting when you mention the vibes of what Laguna Munta is all about and whatnot. It made me think of this sci-fi world of Jack Irons really fits well with your musical leanings already.
Totally, yeah. Well, Cody and I have a lot of similar interests, and
nice.
That's why we're friends. And it just kind of adds up that our creative endeavors kind of cross paths and kind of make sense together, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I can imagine it must be really fun when you guys get to work together like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is I just kind of I want the first Jack track. He was over at my house, and I was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing a song for Jack Irons, and I just pulled out the acoustic and started strumming a few things that I'd come up with, and he was digging it, but pretty much after that. I would come up with something a little bit on my own, and then I would just kind of preview it to him. And if you know, I'd kind of get his take on it because I was just doing these for fun. I just enjoyed doing it, and I'd get a little bit of his take on it, and then I would like Showdown at Cody's, it didn't have as the changes it did. It was kind of really stagnant, and it was just one thing. It didn't have, it just wasn't dynamic. And I showed it to him, and he was like, "I like it, but it feels like it's missing something." And that's great that he could be honest, because I'm just doing this for fun, and I'm glad that he was honest about it, because it made the track that much better. And then Ambush at Coyotes Pass, I showed him the little bit of a bass line that I had come up with, and he was like, "That's cool." And then I didn't really show him anything until the track was finished.
Really? And then from there he was like, "Yeah, that's good to go."
Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't put a lot of constraints on me when he's just excited. Yeah, he's just excited about it, and that's really great. And I just try to do quality work all around. And if I'm trying to do something that's gonna be associated with somebody's IP, I try to be respectful and especially do my best work. And so, having him sign off on it and be into it, that's awesome, because if you got approval from the creator that this fits in with his vibe, I mean, what more could you ask for?
No, that's pretty awesome. You're right. Very cool, man. Yeah, I always love hearing your new takes on different kind of comic books or different IPs or whatever it may be. It's just really interesting to see how you take something narrative and combine it, make it into the musical form. It kind of makes me realize why you're so good at doing this with the, how you've done it with Chuck here, because you really do see the narrative elements and you can somehow transform it musically, I feel like.
Well, thank you. I think, honestly, it's probably just dumb luck.
Oh, you're just being mad.
Man.
That's funny, man. Well, let's see here. We got, maybe is this the final perk here, or do we have one more after this?
I think the last one sold out. So Astronaut, I think, is the last one.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So this one, it includes everything that the previous did, but this is the tier that has the special 11x17 Chuck poster with the never before seen art. And this is the most popular tier. This is the one that has sold the most. So I think people are looking forward to that Chuck poster. Oh, and I just looked, we are 90% funded.
Ooh, nice. Congratulations, man. Last 10%, you're on the home stretch here.
And honestly, the last 4 or 5 backers, they've all got that astronaut pack. I'm so glad, because I didn't want to share the art. I didn't want to spoil it, but also I wasn't sure if people were going to go for a never before seen poster. But trust me, you are not going to be disappointed.
It's awesome. It's by Pablo, right?
Yes. Yeah,
I think people were. I think the album cover alone, spoke enough for his art. They're like, yeah, we're in, man. Whatever it is, we're down for it.
And I gotta say, I have to pat myself on the back for not spoiling it or sharing it, because I mean, I've had it since April, and it's like a kid who it's like in 40-Year-Old Virgin when he has his Iron Man action figure, and he's like, I got that in 1st grade. You know how hard it was not to open that? Kind of how I feel about the Chuck art. I just want to share it, but I knew that it was going to, I wanted to make it something special. So I'm so glad that I resisted the urge and I sat on it. And it's almost been a year that I've been sitting on that fantastic art.
That's going to feel really good once you finally see people like posting pictures, starting to get those in.
Yeah, I hope people like it, because I really love it.
Oof. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's a good tier, man. And people can still pick this one up, right? I think this one's still available.
Yeah, scroll down. I think it shows you there how many are left.
Oh yeah, there's a number of here left. So yeah, people can go pick this one up. Looks like the last one sold out. Was this the mega pack?
Yeah, that was the 5 CD, and
nice.
Yeah, that one sold out fast. I only did 5 of them.
Very nice, man. Well, I'm glad to hear you sold that tier out. That's awesome, dude.
That's just really people wanting to be helpful. I know a lot of my friends and family were like, I just wanted to give you the most amount of money I could.
Well, hey, it works, because now that you can give them out to friends and family and get the word out there.
And that's the whole point of that tier anyway, was so people could give them as gifts or whatnot.
Exactly. I mean, it reminds me of, I used to, back in the day, my friends would, I got this new CD, man, check it out. And Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a throwback to still get a CD. I love to see that kind of attention to detail and still going physical with the stuff here because I do feel like
Ha-
that is always fun to get stuff.
Have you ever thought about releasing vinyl? I mean, that
Yeah,
is one thing I've seen come around again.
I have. And Chuck is too long to be on a single vinyl.
Really? Oh wow!
Wow.
I looked into it
You have
through
to be a
the
double or whatever, right? I guess.
yeah, through the manufacturer. I'm going to get the CDs done. I looked at the vinyl options, and
Oh wow!
it's too long to fit on
Dang.
at least on the options they had. I'm obviously I'm a noob in that area,
I
and
have no idea about vinyls myself here, but yeah, that's
but
interesting.
just honestly, I love vinyl primarily because of the art. You get the big
Yeah.
art, you know. And I've listened to
Yeah.
vinyl, and it sounds great too. But for me, it's always just been you get a big piece of art.
It looks
That's the appeal.
it's almost like a collector's thing. Like
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like even the record itself can sometimes be art because sometimes they're colored or they have art on it, and so I feel like yeah, it is. You definitely is kind of a collecting thing that you might want to get into. But
Yeah, so I wouldn't be against a vinyl release of Chuck, but I'm just thrilled to get it out on a CD. That's the main goal. And if something comes along later that we can get it on vinyl and people want it, I'm all for it.
very nice, man. Yeah, maybe you come back for another round here, or maybe as a bonus, perhaps on a future campaign.
Yeah, we'll see. I will see what happens. That would be awesome.
Right? Yeah. Well, we're going to here. Looks and it's worth mentioning that there are voice actors on who employed their talents to this endeavor, and so it actually has a really cool voice work. So that's actually another really cool thing to check out when you listen to the album. And would you recommend and I'm assuming yes, but would you recommend listening into the order of the songs?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and right here it says, and this is my little blurb. It says, to fully consume the content within, I highly recommend you take the time to sit back, close your eyes, and fully immerse yourself in the experience.
Nice,
Because
man. Yeah, I remember. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, well, I created Chuck to be a singular piece, like a movie. You know, I hate watching movies in chunks. I do it when I fall asleep, but I like to sit there and watch the whole movie in one go. And I remember when I bought 2112, the Rush concept album years ago, my dad said, what you need to do is you need to sit back in your bed, you need to put your headphones on, and you need to close your eyes and listen to it that way. And I did. And honestly, that's the way to do it. And I think this is not a reason for Chuck's this is not a reason for Chuck being a cinematic album, but this is something I've only thought of recently. Especially with the campaign, I've been staring at a screen a lot. Like most days I'm staring at my phone, the computer, whatever. And I gave myself a good headache the other day. And luckily my friend had given me an audio book of some of his stories that he had written. And I was like, how great is it to be able to rest my eyes, sit back and just listen to this story.
Right. Yeah.
And, and I think it gives people a break too, because we're all so obsessed with our phones and just we're always looking at something, the next thing. I think we all just in life should kind of take more time to sit back and breathe. And if there's a reason to do it outside of your own, just wanting to do it for yourself, that's great. And I think Chuck is a reason to kind of take a deep breath and just sit back and
enjoy
just experience it, and without having to see it, close your eyes and just and imagine whatever comes to you.
Yeah, that's how when me and Matt first listened to the album, that's exactly what we did. We both listened to in one sitting and on our own, not together. And we kind of listened to it and took it all in, and then discussed it once we were done. That was a really cool experience. I think you're right. Mm-hmm. It really is a thing that you want to sit, at least the first time for sure, one sitting.
And thanks for giving it your time, gentlemen. Thanks for sitting back and actually, giving it a shot. I appreciate it.
We're excited to do so, man.
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
really excited about it as well.
I mean, especially when it comes to like I wouldn't say art, but for me it's the fact of creating something that like really interests me. So when you were like saying, hey, would you guys want to, kind of preview it, I was like, that's a very interesting prospect, because I mean, a little bit of me from what I told you, back when I was, I think 18, 17, 18, even I was in a band and everything, and I thought music was going to be my thing. But by the time I was 20, 21, I knew it wasn't going to be that path, and it was going to be some form of other art. But I mean, even with that kind of info, like that's kind of what still makes me very interested in like newer styles art, or even just newer styles of music, but even just indie music as well.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. If you have a leg in that world, or a foot in that world rather, you kind of want to give it more of a chance and check it out, because it's more interesting.
Exactly. I mean, one thing I personally have found myself listening to more of is honestly vaporwave, which is, in my opinion, very experimental style of music. And I don't know what it is about it, but I really like it.
I haven't listened to any. I'm so disconnected. I don't have my finger on the pulse of any new thing. I really don't pay attention to a lot of the new stuff that's going on, and I only really hear about it when people tell me.
No, that's very true. I mean, I only found out about vaporwave because I kept hearing it through a few different people that I like watching and stuff, and I was like, what is this music? It sounds very weird, but really awesome at the same time. And then I looked it up and I was like, okay, this is a rabbit hole I did not expect.
Now, real quick, Laguna Munta, we have a question here from the chat. NeoStar Production says, I don't suppose you guys would do music commissions. Is that something that you do there?
Well, I do. You gentlemen definitely know. I do music commissions. Currently, I'm not, just because I'm so involved with the campaign and stuff. But you can hit me up on any of my socials, or you can email me. My email's out there. It's lagunamunta@gmail.com. If you want commission work done, we can work something out. It wouldn't be anytime soon, just because I've got to finish this Kickstarter and I've got to fulfill. But I'd be happy to work with you in the future, because I definitely do some commission work.
Yeah, in fact, I was kind of bearing the lead there, but we've actually commissioned Laguna Munta ourselves here for a number of pieces. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say he's our go-to guy when we want music custom, incredible music.
Well, and I appreciate that too. That was I think you guys were my first music commission.
Oh, that's exciting to hear. I didn't know that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, because I did the Jack tracks, and or the first, I don't know if it was the first or the second, that kind of got me sort of traction. But then you guys hit me up to do a commission, and I think you were the first one I did.
Very nice, man. Yeah, and we've always been excited about all of the pieces you've done for us. You've done you recently did a cyberpunk piece, and of course you did the Wicked theme song, and I think maybe one other one as well, or no, a couple other ones actually. Yeah.
I did one for the Changeling.
And you've done one for what was it? It was another one recently.
I think even Mythics as well, right?
Yeah, that was the Changeling. Is I did it. It's in that universe, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. But I was thinking actually, because you did 3 cyberpunk tracks for us, I think.
I did,
so
yeah.
Yeah,
and that was a lot of fun, and I love doing that kind of stuff. And I think, and it's, again, like we were talking about earlier, trust the artist, and I appreciate you guys trusting me, because you know what I do, and I didn't really do cyberpunk stuff, but I knew that I could. I figured I could come up with something that was in that vein, and that was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, those came out really cool. And I do love trusting you as an artist. It's fun because we come with an idea, and then you come back with something that's 10 times better than we could imagine. Like I just love that process. It's
Well,
so cool.
I guess that's like best case scenario, and I'm glad we've had that good experience.
Uh-oh. Well, yeah, definitely always good to have a good experience over a bad one. That's for sure. I definitely hope you haven't had too many of those yourself.
Oh no, all my commission works have been a lot of fun. I just sometimes when I commission an artist, I have to really control myself because I do get a little controlling, and I think it's just because but I definitely try to control that and just trust the artist. I'm like, okay, just throw a few things, say, hey, you want this, you want that, but then just leave them alone.
Yeah, really.
Because you know, it's especially when I'm commissioning. Like I've currently got a piece being commissioned right now, a new Chuck piece, and great artist. I won't say who. We'll just keep this on the DL for now. But I tried not to give him too much, you know, because I sent him a list of some stuff that I wanted included in the picture and how I'd like it orchestrated. And I could tell I kind of put too much. It was a little overwhelming, you know, and that's just something I need to get over and kind of just get used to trusting the artist. And I do trust him. And of course, after I sent the list of things I wanted, I of course follow up with, but you know, whatever you think. But but trusting the artist is very important. And you know, when I kind of just let him do his thing and it comes out great. So if you like an artist enough to commission them, just let them do their thing because you obviously trust them.
No, that's great, man. Now we have another. Actually, do have another question from the chat here. Do you still mess around with classic metal originals?
You know, like I said in high school. In high school, I had a metal band, so I've got quite a few metal songs that I just don't do anything with. I've just been sitting on them.
Well, hey, it's always good to be able to flex those here and there.
Yeah, and Stroke of Midnight, one of the singles that's actually available in some of the pledge levels, is one of my old metal songs. But so to answer the question, not really. I'm not against playing metal, and if I come up with a metal-esque riff, I will totally use it. But it hasn't really been. I haven't been inspired to create metal in a long time, and honestly, I think part of it is that I think it's left a bad taste in my mouth because when I was in that metal band, there was kind of pressure on me to only write metal songs. You know,
Right.
I'd write something kind of funky, and the guitar player, who was very metal oriented, and rightly so because we were a metal band, he wasn't into it, and I think that was kind of that was an important realization, is that, you know, I can't just stick to one genre. And so I can't say actively that's why I don't really do metal stuff, but subconsciously that could be part of it. But I love metal. It's always been one of my favorite genres. And if I ever come up with a metal riff that I really dig, I will put it on an album.
Right. Yeah, I could see it almost as a single. Like it could be a good single to stand alone from the rest of your stuff.
Yeah, I would never say no to any genre for, you know, because that's just, you know, that goes against my whole philosophy of just doing what I want to do and being expressive. So if the right riff came along, or if I dug up, you know, an old metal song that spoke to me again, I would totally pursue it.
Very nice, man. Well, yeah, that's cool. It's interesting to see kind of where you've come from your earlier days and to your style now, because I do feel like your style has evolved like a lot, quite a bit since the.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, it even with the like improving of the style, it even shows that you've from branching out to different ones. It helped you create more of not necessarily a foundation, but an understanding of each style. So you've been able to kind of amalgamate a lot of your information to what you need. Yeah,
and sometimes I will specifically pursue a genre of music, like "Dreaming of Me," the final single I released off of Chuck. It's a doo-wop song, and for years, because I love doo-wop songs. Often when I would play live shows, I would do a doo-wop version of Kryptonite by Three Doors Down.
Oh, nice. Really? Yeah. That's interesting. I'm not sure I can imagine that necessarily.
Yeah, I just did it. I did it for fun. I did it for fun, you know, because I'm messing around. And let me tell you, trying to sing a song that you kind of, everybody's heard Kryptonite, popular song.
Oh yeah.
Trying to sing a song that you know the rhythm of in a different rhythm and key, it really racks your brain. That took me a while to get down, but anyway, yeah. So I would do that for fun, but I always wanted to write my own original doo-wop song because I just wanted, as a genre, I wanted to pursue. And so, Dreaming of Me, that came together in like I said, in the last few weeks of recording of the Chuck album, and I'm so happy with it, and I'm so proud of it. And it's the doo-wop song I've been wanting to write for years. And I have a rockabilly song that I wrote. It's not on Chuck or anything, but if I find a genre that I feel is interesting and I want to pursue it, I will. And if I don't come up with anything I like, I'll scrap it and try again. The Dreaming of Me kind of idea has been in my head for a long time, years, like I said, and then it just kind of came together. Yeah, it just I just couldn't make it work, and then finally it worked. So it's just a matter of not forcing it and letting it happen when it's supposed to happen. And I'm really glad that I didn't force Dreaming of Me because it needed to be on Chuck.
Yeah, it's incredible. It sounds like you've almost built up this patience to be able to hold these things back for just the right moment.
I
mean, don't just throw it out there once it comes up. Save it for that album.
Yeah, and it's also a matter of my songs have to pass my filter. If they have to be good enough to get past me, and and everybody's their own worst critic. So if it's not good, I don't lie to myself. I have to be really passionate about something to back it. And this is a funny kind of segue. Like I'd go with my girlfriend out, and I'm not a dancer, but we'd go like dancing, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't just dance to any song. I can't. Like, I have to be into the song. I have to be passionate about it. I can't feign it. So it's similar with my music.
You got to be into it. Yeah.
if I don't believe the song, and if I don't believe what I'm playing and what I'm saying, it's going to come off fake. And I never want to be fake with my music because it's my self-expression. It's got to be real. And so if I'm not feeling it, I'll just shelve it. And if it ever comes back, great. If it doesn't, it's in the graveyard of songs.
I love that mentality. I really feel like that's an interesting mentality. It's like almost like you're curating your songs here in a sense. Like, you have these some make the cut, some don't, but the ones that are making the cut, these are the ones that you truly feel are representative of your music at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I love to just kind of. I feel like there's a little more thought to it almost. You're not just throwing everything out there. You're really thinking about what you're putting out.
Definitely.
In a sense, it's kind of what we were talking about a little earlier. It's the true representation of creating art with music. It's something that you feel that people should hear in a sense, but not for like any kind of possible reason. It's just you feel that it's great enough to where there is this sense of interpretation, but at the same time, it sounds great to you. And that's the most important part, is that because we are our own worst critics.
Yeah,
as an artist.
If you can't put on your album and enjoy it, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's kind of like looking at your own art. If you can't stand to look at your own art, what are you doing with it? But find a way to improve it.
But then you at it from another angle, because then there's the argument of, like if I play a show and let's say it wows you guys, like you guys were there and you were like, oh my God, dude, that was a great show. And I'm like, yeah, but I messed up like 6 times and I was a little behind here. Plus I went out of tune on this song, You'd get the same thing from like the greatest painter in the world. You're sitting there, you're looking at their piece and you're saying, oh my God, this is fantastic. It's a masterpiece. And you're like, yeah, but look, see that brush stroke there? It's a little bit off. And also I didn't mix the colors properly here, so they don't quite blend.
To be honest, that's exactly how I feel every time I'm doing art. As we've been talking, I've just been doing a sketch of Chuck just to pass by the time and everything with it. But it's at the same time, I'm noticing certain mistakes. And I'm like, man,
Yeah,
and there's certain things
but
here. But looking at it overall, I'm like,
but
all
the
right,
point,
it looks all
I
right.
was trying to make is that after I mean, if it's good enough to get past you, even if you have reservations about it, honestly, at the end of the day, it matters more what the audience thinks, the people who are experiencing it. That's kind of what I was getting at, because last time I did a live stream, I was very happy with it, and it was emotional because it was the first time I played B and Dreaming of Me live in an audience, and like I said, this is or live streamed, and this album is very close to me, so it was an emotional experience. And afterwards, of course, I think about the mistakes that I made, or what I didn't do, how I messed this up. And my friend Jake, who's on the album, he texted me right after, and he says he was congratulating me. He was like, "Oh, Chris, great show, man. I know you think you messed up, man, but it was awesome." And it's just funny because they know me and they know how I am. Just always,
you didn't have to say it; they already knew ahead of time.
Exactly.
And exactly, like there have been plenty of times I send something to Michael and I'm like, how's it look, man? He's like, it looks great. This is perfect for what we're looking at. I'm like, all right, cool. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm like, but there's these few things I'm looking at real quick.
Yeah.
But so I definitely understand that little feedback that we all give ourselves, but needing to listen to the audience of those who are looking at it and seeing that.
Yeah, and trust yourself too. If you're not feeling it, don't go with it. But if you feel it, let it go. Get it out there, and if it's a performance art like music, if the audience enjoyed the show, that means it was a good show. Maybe you didn't play your best. Maybe you're not that happy with it. But if they enjoyed themselves, that's the point.
And kind of what one of Warborer Gaming in the chat, he said, "Oh yeah, make what is true to what you feel like." And I feel like that's kind of your approach to your music and especially this album.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And and I didn't want to pigeonhole myself as a only rock and roll. He put out a rock and roll album, the next album's going to be straight rock and roll. That's why I was like, when I came up with the idea for a concept album, I was like, yeah, that sounds like what I want to do. That sounds like what I need to do. I don't know if people are going to respond well to it, but I've got to do me.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate with the response thus far, with the people being so inviting and backing the project. Obviously I made the right call.
Oh, you did. And I 100% always feel like that's the right call, because if, I'm a real firm believer in if you're doing something that you enjoy, find other people who enjoy that as well. And you're just going to enjoy the process so much better if it's really something you're passionate about. So I 100% think you're right on the money there.
And I just hope I can keep that mentality. I just hope that that's something I don't ever lose, because you can not that I'm the next big thing, but if you see that happen when they get an audience and they kind of gain some recognition, they might lose sight of that. But for me, it's always going to be about doing what feels right and just being true to myself and the music, and hopefully people just resonate with that. And I hope I can keep that mentality and just keep that going.
That's excellent, man. And this is a fun. I love this image here. This is cool. But I actually want to. I wanted to see maybe we'll go ahead and finish up the Kickstarter here in just a second. But I actually thought maybe it'd be a good time to, since you were talking about Dreaming of Me just a few minutes ago, maybe have us go into listen to our last single for the night.
Oh, I would love to.
Excellent. And while I set that up, why don't you go ahead and prep us and just tell us whatever little bits of information you want to tease us with here as we get into the song here.
Okay, yeah. So, in the context of the album, Chuck, this is the final song on the album. I'll tell you that. More than that, I would just say that it's a doo-wop song, and I've always wanted to create a doo-wop song, but I don't want to tell you much else. It's the last song on the album. The last song on the album, I'll tell you that much, and it's a doo-wop song, and I'm really fond of it. I'm really proud of it, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Excellent, man. That's really interesting. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this final single, the final track on the album, titled "Dreaming of Me." And here we go.
underneath a waning crescent moon. Starlight is shining through the window to your room. What wonderful dreams are running through your head? As moonbeams sparkle on the shadows cross your bed, silver clouds line the night sky. Gentle breeze of the evening floats on by. I hope you're dreaming of me when I'm far away. I hope you're thinking of me when there's nothing to say. I hope you'll be waiting for me when I return. When I return. Up above, a waning crescent moon. Starlight is shining through the window to my room. Such wonderful thoughts are jumping through my head. As sunlight shimmers on the shadows cross my bed, brilliant clouds envelop the sky. Gentle breeze of the morning waves goodbye. I hope you're dreaming of me when I'm far away. I hope you're thinking of me when there's nothing to say. I hope you'll be waiting for me when I return. When I return. If I return.
Nice, man. That's a That's a great song to close the album with.
Mm-hmm.
You really pulled that doo-wop style off in your own unique way. I feel like.
Thank you. I like I said, I'm super proud of that song. I'm very happy with it. Just it's the doo-wop song I wanted to write, and a lot of times I have an idea and I try it out, and maybe it comes out good, but it's not really what I was going for. But that one is exactly what I wanted it to be, and I'm super. Yeah, I'm very proud of that song. I love it. I'm very happy with it.
It's really interesting how well it fits in an album that is is very different from what doo-wop style has. It's kind of the opposite spectrum in some senses. So it's really cool how well it fits.
I felt it worked because the Chuck album is kind of retro in a lot of ways. And also, to me, it just sounds like a song Chuck would enjoy. And I'll give you guys another little something. The album is supposed to be sort of an end credits.
An end credits, in what respect would you say?
Like you're watching a film and there's a song over the end credits.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Dreaming of
That's
Me.
very interesting. I could see it.
Yeah, no, I could as well, and I almost for a second I thought, oh no, not the credits of the Laguna Munta. This isn't the final album, so I was like, oh, I got scared there for a second. But no, you mean almost in the sense of like there can always be, of course, a movie sequel. So in a sense, it's like the end of this outing. In a kind of.
Well, I see Chuck as a movie, just without the pictures. That's how I see the
auditory. You really the structure and the narrative and the way you flows. That you kind of feel as like you see it as a movie in a sense.
Completely. When on some of those tracks that you guys have heard, some of the story elements, I would sit there and describe to my girlfriend what the camera was doing in the scene.
Wow.
So, and I see Chuck so vividly in my head. It's a movie to me. And so Dreaming of Me is just like the end credits song. It's just kind of a nice way to depart from the story, And
what better, honestly, than the end credits song? You have a really great music at the end credits. It really feels satisfying. It wraps everything up.
And the themes of the song work with the album. It's not like it's some foreign thing that they just that I just slapped in there. It fits the vibe, the motif, and just the vibe, the feeling of it. It matches the album.
Wow, yeah, no, that's really awesome, man. Well, I really think you've got something here. I can't wait for people to go check this out and back it. Definitely want people to go, give it a try here. Real quick, I wanted to share this. Matt actually finished his little piece that he did at Chuck here. I thought maybe we'd pull that up here. Get some,
that's awesome.
I don't know. Get this. Yeah, does this qualify as fan art, Matt?
Yeah, you could say that. I wouldn't be against that.
Here's his take on the Chuck character. Chuck looks like he's been beefing up, man. His shoulders are really, man. He's been doing some deadlifting. That's for sure.
Let's see here.
I'll
pull it up. Oh, nice!
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I love it.
All right, I like it too, man. I actually think it came out great. Yeah, that's a fun take on the character.
I love it. That's awesome.
Nice,
I'm always excited to see Chuck. Whatever I love to see the different interpretations too, and especially when you're just sitting there doing that while we're chatting. That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome.
It reminds me of. Did you ever see the show VR Troopers?
VR Trooper? I don't think I have. No.
It sounds really familiar.
It was like in the era of Power Rangers and stuff. But anyway, there's a character that totally reminds me of. I used to have the action figure of. It totally looks like that. So you just kind of took me back right there.
Wow.
Oh, dang. Well, looking at the page one more time from my side, it looks like you're at 90% now.
We're at 90% funded.
You're so close. Jeez, you're literally less than $200 away. I want to say, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
under 150.
You might get it. If not today, you might get it tomorrow. I could see you getting it really quick here. And
don't even know
of
what to
course,
say about
everyone,
it.
there's a whole page here. I'm sure it feels really good and just honestly just really exciting to be able to get that out to so many people.
Yeah, I'm all smiles here. I
Right
like,
you are.
when I said from the beginning, I figured if I put it on Kickstarter, I kind of saw it going one of two ways. I figured people would really get behind me and support it and be as awesome as they have been, or it would just be me refreshing a page over and over again for a month and just not seeing any movement. But thanks to all of my fantastic friends and family and all these people who support me that I haven't even met, it's
right?
It's fantastic. Oh, and if you're looking at, wait, actually, am I seeing delayed?
Oh yeah, maybe a little bit. Which picture we're gonna comment on?
Oh, you were flipping past a picture of me and my old man.
Oh yeah, I know. That's a great picture. I love that picture.
Yeah,
is that a ukulele? What is that you're playing there?
That's at like our at like a family house, my grandma's house, and that's just a guitar. It's like a little kid guitar.
Oh, that's funny.
It's been there for years, so whenever we show up, we try to tune it and just play it because
nice.
the guitar is around.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, as a musician does, when there's a musical instrument around, you gotta get on it and start working with it.
And I've always been a guy who likes to work with what I've got around. I'll just make do. But if you keep scrolling to the bottom, you'll see my Chuck Ruff artwork.
Oh, really? Okay, let's see. Is this it here?
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, it's not as bad as you made it sound like it was going to be a lot worse. I was expecting. No, that actually came out pretty nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's some pictures I took and then I photoshopped the car in.
Okay, very nice.
Added some filters, but
I see. So you wanted to go with a more of a artistic approach as opposed to like something that was kind of photoshopped or something.
Yeah, I wanted to go with quality, is what it was.
That's funny, man. Well, it's interesting to see how he really captured what you wanted. Like, he not only did he capture it, but he really made it really pop and really shine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sent him that and I said, hey, I just want this, but in your awesome style.
Wait, I think I may have just made a connection here. Do you think that's where the yellow gloves came from? Because it kind of has a yellow tint to it.
Well, actually, this is not the exact one I sent him.
Okay, fair enough.
but that's a good observation. The one I sent him didn't have any filter on it. It was just raw imagery. But that would make sense.
Funny. That's right. I almost thought I had something there, man.
All right.
Right. No, that's all good. Had to be done. It had to be done. No, that's cool, man. I think your page is looking really awesome. You have a lot of really excellent tiers and stuff for people to pick up. So I definitely want people to go check it out.
And I gotta give credit to my friends, Cody Fernandez, Jack Irons, because I went to him because he's my friend and he's done these kind of things before. So I had him check out the page, and also my friend Dean Montalban, because he backs a lot of Kickstarters. So I said, I was like, well, what do I need to do to make this page work? What do I need to make it look good? And because I'm not really familiar. I've backed a couple Kickstarters, but I've just this is new territory for me. So I have a lot of people to thank for helping me make the Kickstarter page, as good as it is, And I'm not saying it's the best, but it would have been a lot worse if I didn't have my good friends, giving me advice.
No, and that's what it's all about. Is the community really is? It's so supportive. It's really cool to see.
And one thing I've always said about Laguna Munta, it's a one-man band, but it's not a one-man show.
Wow, that's actually a really good way to put it, man. That is pretty cool. Yeah, you're just because you're a solo act doesn't mean that you're getting there on your own, and of course you got all that support behind you. Yeah, I have a great group of people, and you guys are included in that. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for all your support and the commission work, and just always sharing the stuff. And yeah, you guys have helped immensely, and it means a lot to me. You guys are great. Oh, you're very welcome, man. You're welcome to come back anytime. We always enjoy talking to you, and your projects are always incredible to listen to. So definitely, you're always welcome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. And we are getting close to the end of our time here. I do have a few last minute questions, a few last ones that I've been really curious about. One of them is, do you have a favorite musician? Yeah, but it varies, So like right now, it's Rory Gallagher. Who's Rory? I'm not familiar with Rory Gallagher.
He's passed. He died in '94, but Irish guitar player, kind of a blues man.
Oh wow,
dude, the guy is a beast on the guitar.
Really?
Phenomenal guitar player, such great feel, such great energy. If you watch any of his live footage, he's a monster. And yeah, and the funny thing is my first exposure to Rory Gallagher was my grandma came over and she gave me a CD and also a picture of Rory Gallagher that was framed that she had bought from somebody who claimed that they were related to Rory Gallagher. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but
hey, I believe it.
So I hung up the picture because it's a dude playing a guitar, and then I listened to the album, and the album is top priority. I've got the vinyl hanging on my wall right now, and some of the only covers I do in my set are covers off of that album.
Really?
And Philby and Bad Penny. But an interesting fact is I got my favorite band has always been Judas Priest ever since I was like a teenager.
Yes.
And my favorite guitar player when I was and still one of my favorites, but like I said, it changes. Is the guitar player from that band named Glenn Tipton. And so I was into him for years. Then I got into Rory Gallagher. And then I found out Glenn Tipton was heavily inspired by Rory Gallagher and would go see him whenever he got the chance. So
that's a full circle there, isn't it?
Totally.
In a sense, yeah.
So right now it's Rory Gallagher.
Next month, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. And do you find especially now, since that is your favorite now, do you find yourself being inspired by Rory Gallagher's work in your own music?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've been working on an instrumental track that's just straight tribute to Rory. And I mean, I bought a DVD of his recently, and because I work at a video store, we get to watch movies. I put it on, and I immediately am like, oh, dude, I need to play my guitar. I gotta play my guitar. And super inspirational. And in so many ways, just his passion and his skill on the guitar and his showmanship, very inspirational. And style wise, like I said, I've got an instrumental that I'm kind of, it's in the works. That's very heavily inspired by Rory Gallagher.
A single perhaps coming up.
We'll see. It might not become anything. It could end up in the song in the graveyard of songs.
No, we gotta find that graveyard and start digging these songs up, man. I gotta get some of these songs. No, well, that's really interesting. I always love to hear kind of where people's inspirations come from, and so that's really cool. Now, is there anything you can tease us maybe about what's for the future of Laguna Munta? Maybe any projects you have in the horizon, or are you mainly focused on Chuck right now and kind of leaving that to the future dates here?
Well, I'm always trying to think of the future and what the next thing is. I'm already planning the third Laguna Munta album.
Nice.
I already have an idea of what I want it to be called, and it'll be. I mean, I can't. This could change, so take this with a grain of salt, because who knows what my inspirations will shift in the coming year or so. But as of now, it's going to be more. It's going to be a little bit more traditional. It's going to be a little bit more like Plugs Out. In the sense that it's going to be individual songs that aren't really, connected in a story. It'll be more of a classic album in that sense. But I do have kind of a concept for the album that I want to pursue.
So it'll be concept light, perhaps.
There will be a concept to the album, but it's not going to be like a story concept. It's mostly just me pursuing
themes, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't even know how to express it. You're probably right, but I have a target and I'm looking to hit that target. And it's going to be, instead of just a collection of songs, I have specific intent for each song that I'm putting on there.
And I suppose we'll probably know when you get there.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. I have a basic idea, but when I find it, I'll know it.
Exactly.
So that's the plan. I'm planning to do a third album, of course. I'm always going to, like I said, I've always said, as long as I'm able to play music, I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, that's excellent. Well, we'll always be here to back you, man, because we love your music and really excited to see what you're always coming out with next.
I
Now,
appreciate that.
you're welcome. The final question here I want to ask you, and this one is directed. This one's for all the people out there who are perhaps on the fence, or maybe they're considering backing your project, but they haven't yet rocked it. What would you say to those people? What would you say to them in just general?
Well, if you've heard the album singles, okay, so if you're considering backing the project and you've heard the album singles and you still don't want to back the project, don't. It obviously isn't speaking to you, and I don't want anybody to get into anything they're not going to enjoy. But if you've heard the singles and there's something there that resonates with you, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, these are just snippets of the album. The album is an hour-long experience. It's a through story. It's a single piece. It's a single thought. It's got so many talents on it, so many voice actors, so many different styles of music. And I really feel that the story is impactful. I feel that it's got a true emotional core to it. And I feel that it's such a universal concept that anybody can find something in it to relate to. So if you're interested in backing the project, just listen to the singles. And if they speak to you, back it. And if not, just maybe tell your friends about it. Maybe it'll speak to them. I know this album isn't going to speak to anybody, and I would never want to force it, because then you're not going to enjoy it. There's no art. There's no love. You need to feel it in your bones, in your heart, and in your soul. If you want to take that ride with us, if you want to experience that with us, you're welcome. And if not, hey, that's okay.
And we'll see you on the next one. That's awesome, man. That's really cool to hear. And I do hope people take you up on that offer and really do take a look and listen to the singles and then take the rest of the journey, because I think people are going to be satisfied when they listen to the whole album from the beginning to the end. It's a very satisfying listen. It's a fun album, and there's a lot going on in it. So please go check it out, everyone. I'm going to post a link here just up on the screen. It's also in the chat over there, just so if you want to check it out. So go check it out. It's got 15 days left, I think. And they're 90%. So literally every backer is getting them that much closer. So it really does count every bit of support.
Well, we're only $128 shy of our goal. And one more thing I want to say before I forget. Starting tomorrow, I have short videos that I'm uploading that are interviews with some of the voice actors on Chuck. I should have 3 or 4 of those. I have 3 right now. I'm waiting on getting the 4th from one of the sources. So if you want to kind of get a perspective from some of the people besides me who were involved in the album, you can check those out on my YouTube channel. And the first one's going up tomorrow.
Excellent. And in fact, that's a great segue there. Where can people follow you online, such as your YouTube and other places, so that they can make sure that they check out all your stuff you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me anywhere. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I will share my YouTube link in the chat right now. But all under Laguna Munta. So if you just search me up on any of your favorite social medias, I'm there.
Excellent. Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. You got a lot of cool stuff on your YouTube channel as well, so definitely worth checking out. It's not even all music; you have some other stuff up there as well, I think, right?
Yeah, I talk about some guitars and just tell stories of how I got them, and there's some live performances. There's a few music videos, and then there's just some me talking about stuff. And yeah, just if you don't know me, that's a kind of a good way to get to know me. There's some interesting stuff on there that you might find entertaining, and some old live clips from some shows. So if you want to see me kind of live and out in the world, when that's not really an option, you can kind of see me interacting with the crowd and just kind of see what I am like live. Because when I live stream from home, there's nobody here. It's just me in the room. It's a different experience. So if you want to see me, out there in the world, you can check out the videos until we can actually go play some shows.
Yeah. Speaking of which, before we wrap up here, what is it like for you? Are you really into the live shows and stuff?
What's the question?
Are you a big fan of doing live performances?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm super anxious. I always get nervous before a show. Always.
That would be for me too, man. That's
and it's never changed. But 2 or 3 songs into it, I'm feeling good.
Nice.
And honestly, I have such a great crew. I always have a great crowd. My sister, Michelle, I'm telling you, if you're a band and she's not in your audience, you are missing out, because I'm the one-man band. She's the one-woman audience.
Nice. She's your mic.
No matter where I'm playing, if the crowd is big or small, when she's there, it feels like you're playing it, to 200,000 people.
That's awesome. And that's honestly, that's all you need is a few really, enthusiastic people in the crowd to really get things going. So,
yeah, but I love to perform live and
cool.
I love that energy.
That is very cool. Well, hopefully, we'll get this album out there, and you'll get you past that finish line and past that goal. And
we're well on our way.
Yeah, you are. You're more than well on your way. I mean, with 15 days to go left, honestly, I feel you're gonna meet that goal and then some. So I don't feel like it's too early to say, but congratulations on all your success you've seen so far, and congratulations on everything you're gonna get to see in the next coming days here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming on and talking with us. It's been really fun and exciting. And I always love hearing your perspective on music. You're just such a talent. And honestly, I don't want anyone to sleep on this guy. He's very talented. So please go check out the album. It's on Kickstarter right now. It has plenty of tiers for you to check out if you want to get digital, if you want to get a CD, even an art print by the album cover artist Pablo. And so there's just a lot of really cool stuff. So please go check it out, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat and for hanging out. It was actually a lot of fun tonight. We had a lot of people hanging out in the chat, and that's always cool to see. And well, thank you again. I guess good luck. And if you ever want to come back on the show, you're always more than welcome to.
Oh, and I will definitely. And thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you fellas. And thanks for everybody who showed up in the chat. And thanks for everybody who's backed the project or shared a post, liked it, any of that. Everything helps. And thank you guys for making me feel welcome with my work. And thank you for being a part of it. And thank you guys for having me. Really, it's always a pleasure to talk with you guys.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Anytime. And everyone go check it out. It's time for Chuck to lift off, and we'll see you guys next time.